They're coming over the wall! You'll need to help evacuate the civilian population. A voice yelled through the integrated headset in the helmet. In addition to the voice, there were sounds of people screaming and rifles being fired in the background. It created a sense of dread and tension. Claire grabbed her weapon tightly as she made her way through the blocky simulated version of the fort. Ahead of her was the figure of Hannah. "Where do you think they'll come from?" Hannah asked, sounding nervous. Looking around her, Claire tried to spot any civilians and modified humans. It's different every time, so don't focus on where they come from. Just keep an eye on the appearance of the civilians. As she ran past several houses, Claire didn't bother worrying about staying hidden. She thought back to Chelsea's words after she had completed the training in the past. "Why are you hiding behind buildings? Modified humans aren't like regular enemies. You don't need to worry about being fired upon. The key is to keep moving and try to avoid firing your weapon too many times," Chelsea explained in the past. With her friend's words in mind, Claire continued dashing forward and making sure not to leave behind Hannah. Though the simulation didn't look realistic with how blocky everything was, the added sound in the background helped to give a feeling as though everything was actually happening. "Help! Someone help!" A man's voice called out. Hannah turned towards the voice, picking up the sound before she did. As Claire looked around and tried to pinpoint the sound of the voice, her friend pointed ahead of them. "It's coming from behind that house." Hannah moved forward. Following Hannah, Claire made sure to get her rifle ready in case any of the monsters showed up while they helped a civilian. Passing by the house, there was the sight of a man holding the body of a woman. "My wife! She fainted! Please help her!" The pixelated man begged, though his mouth didn't open or close as he spoke. Going over to the woman lying on the ground, Claire got on her knees next to the person. With her hand, she tried to figure out if the person had a pulse. There was, unfortunately, no sound of a pulse coming in through a speaker, meaning the woman had died. "I'm sorry. Your wife has passed away," Claire informed the man. Upon receiving the news, the man robotically got up. Pointing towards a blinking icon off in the distance, Hannah explained, "Head over there, where we have emergency shelters waiting to accept you." Without a word, the man began running off towards the emergency shelter. In the upper corner of the screen, it now read 1 to indicate the number of civilians she saved during the simulation. It's still weird how they act. They just abandon their children or spouse as though they don't mean anything whenever we tell them they need to head over to the emergency shelter. Hannah shook her head, her lips slanted. Claire shrugged her shoulders. "It's a simulation, and I feel like this is the best they're able to create. I mean, look around us. Though it's strange in appearance, we're going through a three-dimensional game." She could feel a tear beginning to form. I'm sure Han would have enjoyed seeing this. Beginning to reach out to Claire, Hannah's hand paused before returning to her side. Alex would have thought it was pretty cool too. Taking a moment to compose herself, she smacked Hannah on the arm. "Come on, if we're going to get the high score, we need to pick up the pace." Forcing a grin, Hannah nodded. "Let's hurry up and find more civilians. It'll probably be soon when the modified humans show up." "Yeah, it usually takes them a little time to get from the wall to here," Claire agreed, making sure to check their surroundings. Even though in past versions it was the case where modified humans wouldn't appear until later, the possibility that the parameters of the game being changed couldn't be ignored. Running towards the street and making their way past the rows of houses, Claire sighed in relief to see they were still safe. "Where should we go?" Hannah huffed, trying to catch her breath. Claire took a moment to think, trying to anticipate where survivors would be hiding from the monsters. "Let's go that way." She pointed to the other side of the street. "I get the feeling there may be survivors over in that direction." The problem was that the replicate fort wasn't huge. At some point, they would run into modified humans, which is where the game would increase in difficulty.